Hey guys, what's up? There was a time when it was so fascinating when remarketing was introduced. It was so fascinating to see that whatever we had browsed has started following us. There was very little scope for things that you have done to be lost in the history. It was so fascinating for us, right? Until it started getting irritating to see wherever you go, whatever you do, it is being tracked, it is being monitored. Thus came the data privacy issues, where certain use of cookies were not very encouraged in the industry. It has become a movement before we could even realize that. So that brings us to the discussion about what are first-party cookies versus third-party cookies. There's also something else in between, which is the second-party cookies. So it becomes very important for us to understand what these are, because this is heavily influenced by what you see going forward, what consent is needed from you in order for you to see certain things going forward. Just because you clicked on an ad, you visited a website, doesn't give them the right to follow you and track your behavior online. So let's get started in understanding what first-party cookies and third-party cookies are, and then we will cover what supposedly the second-party cookies mean. When you talk about browsing the internet, let's say you go to a website called Amazon. You found a few products that are interesting. Well, you're not really sure about buying those products yet. So what you did was you added these products to the cart so that you wanted to come back and decide if you really wanted these things. Now you added these products onto the cart and something happened. You closed the website and then you went away, you went to work or whatever. Then you came back, and how would you feel if you don't see those items in the cart? Or if Amazon is acting like a stranger, like it doesn't know you, which is very unlike Amazon if you look at what is happening today, right? Now, that became irritating. So, the first party cookies were introduced, where these cookies were planted on your device by the domain that you visited itself, and not by any other third party service. So, what this helped users was with remembering their details, their personalized recommendations by the domain that you visited, which means that you go to Amazon and it greets you, right? And you also see the products that you had added in the cart, so that you don't have to go through the whole process again. So this resulted in a massive uptick in terms of personalization. The systems and the websites were able to recommend better things to you. They understood your needs better, and they also started recommending things, or they personalized recommendations for you. Now, this is all very beautiful in terms of a site called Amazon understanding a user. The scope of the first party cookies is only limited to the domain amazon.com in this case, which means that all your details that you have entered, or you had personalized, or you had shared, the cookie that was able to capture these details, it was only able to work in the ecosystem of the amazon.com website and not pass on these data points to any other third party service providers. Now, on the other hand, if you look at third-party cookies, this is where things get a little snooty. Now, it almost feels like there is somebody who is following our footsteps, somebody who is looking at what we are doing online, understanding our details better, understanding about our behavior, and they're also passing on these details to, in fact, all the websites that you have ever visited. That gets a little tricky, and that gets a little annoying, because now you're being followed. How does this work? Imagine visiting a website called let's say CNN.com. You go to CNN.com and then you see different ads from different advertisers, right? These are powered by different web servers. Now, let's say the DoubleClick is one, and there is an ads.something.com is another one, AdRoll is another one. So you have these web servers showcasing these ads on the website of CNN.com. Now, if you visited this website, what happens is these third-party cookies get planted on your device, which means on the browser that you're using on your device. They just don't share the data with CNN. It is not now. It is the scope gets expanded now, and these data points, or these cookies, are now being shared with all the third-party web servers that are powering these ads. All the advertising platforms, all the programmatic advertising platforms that are showcasing these ads now have information about you. Why? So that they could push their advertisers' products depending upon what you had seen, based upon your history, based upon your behavior, so that they start bombarding with all these ads. Now that gets a little annoying, and we are on the verge of the beginning of a new era, which is cookieless advertising, which means there will not be any third-party cookies, and all the browsers like Google, Mozilla, Safari are very actively disabling third-party cookies, or in some cases, you might have to actively give them consent for planting third-party cookies on your devices. This is a very interesting move, and it also changes the phase of advertising going forward 360 degrees. Now let's talk about second-party cookies, which is between both of these. It lies somewhere between both of these. Basically what happens is second-party cookies are nothing but data exchange between companies who collect your data and they pass on these data to somebody else. For example, airline websites that you have been browsing and you have been inquiring about your travel. Now, all this data that you have given the system is being shared with another company. Let's say you're talking about a hotel chain, so that they can show their ads and they can contact you. Now, this arrangement of data sharing between two companies or two or more companies falls under the second-party advertising, second-party cookies. Now, let's also look at let's also summarize all these things and look at what you need to understand in order to better navigate through these changes and to understand how advertising is going to change forward. And it is very important for us to do so, as we're all digital marketers navigating through this change, and we would be forced to navigate through this change once third-party cookies completely are eliminated. So let's get started. Hang on with me until I show you my screen. So what you see on your screen is the basic difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies. This data has been collected from a website which is clearcode.cc. Now, setting and reading the cookie in the first-party cookies, this can only be set by publisher's web server or any JavaScript loaded on the website. This is only specific to that domain that you're visiting, and no third party is involved here. Now, on the other hand, if you look at the third-party cookies, it can be set by a third-party server, which is an ad tech platform. It could be AdRoll, it could be doubleclick.com, it could be any third-party ad service via code located on the publisher's website. Now, just because you have visited a publisher's website, third-party cookies will start tracking you wherever you go after that. That is not right. Then you have availability. A first-party cookie is only accessible via the domain host that created it, which means in our example, Amazon, right? A third-party cookie is accessible on any website that loads the third-party server's code. Now, in case of CNN's example, where 3 ads from 3 different ad servers were published, just because you visited that website, now your data is with all 3 web servers who will start showcasing their respective advertisers' ads on the internet wherever you go. Then you have browser support, blocking and deletion, supported by all browsers and can be blocked and deleted by the user, but doing so may provide a bad user experience. Now, in case of first-party cookies, user still has the ability to allow or block these cookies. And it is supported by all browsers. First-party cookies are supported by all browsers. You can choose to allow or block these first-party cookies, but if you block them, your details will not be stored by a website called Amazon in our example, which means less personalization and bad user experience for you and I. Then you have third-party cookies. It is supported by all browsers, but many are now blocking the creation of third-party cookies by default. Many users also delete third-party cookies on a regular basis because it gets really annoying and you can only take so much bombardment, right? All right, so moving forward, a laptop through which that I had browsed a website called Amazon.com. Now, we are talking about a first-party cookie scenario, where cookies are created by Amazon.com domain and it is not shared with any of the third-party services. It is used to remember the user, to greet him or her next time he or she visits, and to save any items that you have added to the cart, or to better recommend or personalize your preferences going forward. Now, when this happens, Amazon places a first-party cookie on your laptop or a device, the browser on your device, which will be helpful for Amazon to customize things, to greet you better, to personalize recommendations better, or to recommend better products for you going forward. Now let's look at a same example in case of a third-party cookie scenario, and let's take another website as an example. Let's say I have visited a website called All Deals Online, and there are 3 ads. So in this case, you will see there are 3 ads from 3 different publishers, from 3 different advertisers, or web servers of 3 different advertisers, ad 1, 2, and 3. Now, what will happen is, just because I have visited this website, my data will be shared, or the cookie will be planted on my device by all these 3 advertising networks web servers, which will then be shared with their respective advertisers, so that wherever I go, if any relevant products match, I will be bombarded with those ads. Now, this is so uncalled for, and this is not required, and this is not right in many people's opinion. So the cookie placed by the third-party sites on the user's device to remember his details, track his movements, understand his behavior, and showcase ads and to retarget these ads to the user wherever he or she goes, which is completely bizarre in most of the cases. So things to remember: most of the browsers are getting away with the third-party cookies, which means unless the user gives the permission or gives his consent for these to be planted, they will not be done. And this is done by default. So all in all, we need to understand that we are moving towards a cookie-less world of advertising, and it will be very interesting to see how things change. I hope this video helps you to navigate these changes better. Thank you so much. My name is Casey, signing off.